and welcome. It is Tuesday, December 28th, 2021, and I am in Atlanta, Georgia. Today's high is about 72 degrees. There's a light breeze, and at this point, it is mostly cloudy. It was actually sunnier earlier today when I was working out. So, welcome. This is going to be probably my last broadcast for the year, as I'm going to be spending some time with my family up in Indiana for a couple of days, and I'll restart the lives again next week. So, welcome. My breakthrough tour, January the 15th, will be my first breakthrough event in 2022. That will be at the Atlanta Marriott Perimeter Center in Atlanta, Georgia, up on the north side. And then January 29th, I'll be in Birmingham, Alabama, at the Marriott in Birmingham on the east side of Birmingham. January 30th, doing a worldwide deliverance session. February the 19th, be at the Courtyard by Marriott in Orlando, up in Lake Mary, Florida, north of Orlando. And then February 27th, the worldwide deliverance session. And then March 5th, the Residence Inn at Opryland in Nashville, Tennessee. So, topic of the day is, and I've never spoken specifically about these, that I think is going to be very interesting for everyone to hear, is do you want to be healthy or do you want to stay a victim? And as far as healthiness, I'm not talking about only physical health, but I'm also talking about emotional health. Do you want to be healthy, to have peace, to have joy, to have the fruit of the Spirit, or do you want to stay in an unhealthy state where you're angry, where you're bitter, where you're jealous, where you remember all the injustices that were done to you? Because that is what the enemy wants to do in our lives, is to cause us to stay in a state of anger and unforgiveness and bitterness. But also there's physical sickness that we have, that we want to overcome. At least we hope that we want to overcome that. And so it's been my observance. I've done thousands of personal sessions for people all over the world, and it's been my observance that those who get hurt and get wounded when they're growing up will tend to look back on all the bad things that happened to them, all the injustices, and typically have a victim mentality where they are stuck in the past and they want other people to feel sorry for them. And the same thing can happen, I've noticed this too, with anyone who has been born like prematurely or early, or with some things that happen to them at birth, is oftentimes they will be raised in a mentality of where people are feeling sorry for them and poor pitiful them, and it's just an amazing miracle that they're even alive, and they tend to stay stuck in that victim mentality where they want people to feel sorry for them, and oh my gosh, please, I have this whatever sickness, or I have this disease, and they want them to stay in that mode. Or the enemy wants them to stay in that mode in their life, so then that way they have things, give them, and they try to stay in that mode as long as they can, obviously benefit from that if they can get people to feel sorry for them, to give them money. It basically allows them to live a life in irresponsibility, where they can get away with things only because they keep telling people about all their horrible things that happened to them, when they were growing up, the issues that they had, people that maybe were emotionally abusive or physically abusive or sexually abusive. So you have to get to the point where you finally say enough is enough. I'm not going to live in the past anymore. There's people that have had horrendous things that have happened to them, and I've taken them through inner healing and deliverance sessions, and I always have the Lord come to speak to them about the injustices that were done to them. The Lord says, I'm sorry that happened to you, but these people were also hurt, were also wounded. That's why they did what they did to you, and you need to forgive them. Because if you don't forgive them, then you'll want to stay in that victim mode, and you won't oftentimes see the healing physically or emotionally, and you'll never grow from that. You'll never be an overcomer. you will be a victim mentality for the rest of your life. And you don't want to stay there, because if you do, then that does give legal rights to demonic spirits to continue to speak to you in your mind, in your thoughts, causing you to have the poor, poor, pitiful me. Look at me, I struggle, I've always struggled. Please give me, cut me some slack, give me some money. I need some, finances to finance my lifestyle that I want to live, instead of pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and then getting out there and actually doing some work and doing some things. There's some people, do you remember the guy, I can't remember his name, but he has like no arms and no legs, and he's out there ministering, speaking to people, encouraging people. You could imagine, if you were in that situation, would he have a right to complain? Sure he would. But if he did that, and all he did all day long was complain and poor, poor, pitiful me, what could he do to help others? And so there's many, many people, many, many Christians, quote unquote Christians, that are in the church who are stuck in the, oh my gosh, life has dealt me all these horrible injustices, when they were growing up, and oftentimes when they get married to someone. You'll see this a lot with people that struggle with the Jezebel spirit, is they will be very mean, very angry, lie about people, be very controlling, and then they will come back on, well, poor, poor, pitiful me, look at all the bad things that have happened to me. But they turn into an abusive person because of that. So there's a lot of people who will trigger and go off on people because they do not have their soul wounds healed, and they're angry, and they're bitter, and they're not in the right space. Hello to Tanya, I see on Facebook. So Jezebel loves to manipulate people who have mercy hearts, who will feel sorry for them. The victim spirit joins in with that Jezebel spirit to get people to feel sorry for you, so you can ultimately get away with as much abuse as you possibly would want to, because you'll be very mean, very controlling, very angry to those who are maybe your spouse and your children, but then you turn around to others who know you, and you treat them nicely, and then you ask for their sympathy and or money, and then they will do that. And then you never ever are able to get out of that mode. You'll never get rid of the demons that have legal rights to torment you, and you'll stay stuck in that victim mode. And then oftentimes you'll have sickness, disease, along with the emotional wounds that you have, and you'll never get healthy. So what's interesting is if you read, I'm going to read this, John 5, 1 through 15. I'm going to read this. I've actually been to this place. It's called the Pool of Bethesda that they refer to in this scripture. I've actually been there when I took a trip to Israel and Jerusalem back in 2000 and when was that? 2009. And this is what it says. This is after. Well, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this in the New Living Translation. I'm going to skip down to this. Yes. So Jesus basically sees a man that is been struggling for like 38 years with this sickness next to this pool of Bethesda, and I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. It says, where is it at? Well, I'm gonna read it back here, I guess. Sorry about that. Okay, here it goes. It said, after this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the Sheepgate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. That's kind of why I've got a pool behind me here, as symbolic. I hear like a dove cooing right now above me in this area. How ironic is that? It's cooing. Okay. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water was made well of whatever disease he had. Now a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he already had been in that condition a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well? Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him. You would have thought he would have said yes. But it's interesting, he doesn't say yes. He comes up with like an excuse of why he's not healed. Because if you think about it, if he would have said yes, then he would have had to have been committed to wanting to see it manifest and be done with this. It's been 38 years. And you would have thought within 38 years, he could have had someone that was his friend, that maybe he even paid him something, but to actually take him to the water, put him by the edge, and then take him in there first, so he would have been healed after 38 years. Of course, if he would have answered Jesus no, then people would have thought that he was probably crazy, very foolish. Why would not want to be healed? But he's right there for 38 years at the edge of the water, like it's behind me, with the pool, and Jesus came to him and asked him, do you want to be made well? A lot of people probably, if they were overhearing, was like, what kind of question is that? Well, of course he wants healed. He's been here for 38 years, but yet he's not been the first in the water yet. After 38 years, you would think eventually, one day, he'd have somebody right there at the edge that would shove him in the water and say, boom, now he's healed. He doesn't have to do this anymore for 38 years. So he says, sir, instead the guy answers, sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me. Jesus said to him, rise, take up your bed and walk. And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed and walked. And that day was the Sabbath. Of course, the Jews therefore said to him who was cured, it is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to carry your bed. You know, they're all about rules, regulations, religiousness. And there's a lot of people that are very religious that are in the church today that would say, oh my gosh, shame on you. You shouldn't be doing anything on the Sabbath. You should just be laying around doing nothing, you know, because they're very religious instead of doing what Jesus would want them to do. So what was interesting is it says, they asked him, who is the man who said to you, take up your bed and walk? But the one who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn, a multitude being in that place. But afterwards, get this, Jesus found that man that he healed in the temple and said to him, see, you have been made well. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you. The man then departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. So how interesting is that Jesus told him to stop. Do not pursue a sinful lifestyle. So there's a lot of people who are pursuing, wanting to be healed, but oftentimes they don't want to change from their sinful lifestyle. And it's been my experience when I've taken people through inner healing and deliverance that if they continue to pursue a sinful lifestyle, then what will happen oftentimes is they could get more demonic spirits to attack them because they know better. They now have seen the healing and I want to continue to pursue a sinful lifestyle. And what do you think Jesus would say about that? Well, he just said right there to stop it. Do not pursue sin at that point. So what I've seen is people who have gotten healed and delivered will tend to understand that, okay, if I go back to living a lifestyle that is impure sexually, ungodly, being selfish, being prideful, then what will happen is they will have demonic spirits to be able to come back on them. Then at the point, their life's going to get obviously worse condition. So there's also a lot of people that want to stay in the victim mentality because there are benefits that they get. You know, what happens if you are able to get on disability in the United States is oftentimes they will give you money to stay disabled. So if you get healed, you might have to go out and find a job. And a lot of people don't want to do that. Well, what does Jesus say about that? Well, Jesus is not going to be happy about that. If you continue to sit around and do nothing, you know, play video games all day long and eat food that's not healthy for you, he wants you to actually go out there and help other people get set free, get healed, get delivered, and so forth. Because if they don't, you know, they just simply sit at home all day and they do nothing. You know, that's not a benefit whatsoever to anyone. So a lot of times people want to stay in that victim mentality mode because they get people to feel sorry for them. Correct? Yes. Oftentimes they get money. I see this a lot on social media where people will be crying out for money. I need money. Will you give me money? Oftentimes they do it in the name of ministry. They're like, oh my gosh, I need to get this, whatever it is. Could be a bus, could be a car, could be a plane ticket to Zimbabwe, wherever. And they go out on social media and they say, this is what I need. I want you to give it to me. And in most cases, what I've seen work the best is if you're doing what the Lord wants you to do, the Lord will speak to other people without you having to try to manipulate them. And there's people in ministries that will go out in ministry and they will actually say, I hear that there's going to be 10 people giving me $1,000. Or there's going to be 50 people giving me whatever, $500. And they manipulate people, trying to guilt trip them. Oftentimes that is a Jezebel type of a spirit. It's a victim mentality. I need to have this, I need to have this. And if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in your life, the Lord will provide for you. Now, there may be some times that the Lord will have you actually mention that to someone, but on a whole, what I've seen is people that do that, especially in large churches, ministries, is that oftentimes is used to guilt trip and manipulate them, which is really what the Jezebel spirit will do. It's like witchcraft, trying to make you feel guilty, making them look like a martyr per se, trying to get you to give money to them. So you need to understand that the Lord does not want us to stay at a victim mentality whatsoever. You may have some sicknesses, you may have some things. I had some things that I had to walk through that were not fun to go through when I first started learning about my authority in Jesus, and I had pain in my body. I had pain, I had a toothache that was horrible, commanded it to be healed, it was healed instantly. But I also had a problem with my back and my spine that took, in one case, it took 2.5 days to be healed. Another one took 6 weeks to, and the Lord told me that He wanted me to declare it, speak it out, and thank the Lord that I was healed, and then watch it manifest later. I had COVID symptoms over a year ago. Didn't take anything for it. I thanked the Lord that I was healed. It took about, I think, 10 days. Was healed from it. Got over it. Again, the Lord wants us to know that we have authority. He also wants us, to obviously use our natural immunity and be able to be healed from things as much as possible. So anyway, we do not want to ever get to the point where we look at ourselves as victims and then stay in that victim mode, because then we'll hear a lot of demonic spirits that will chime in and then try to cause us to manipulate other people to give money to us and make them feel sorry for us. And then that just allows the demons to stay, having legal rights to stay to attack them. You see this all the time with people that struggle with the Jezebel spirit. They want you to feel sorry for them. And they're very good. Very, very good at manipulating you in order to give them money, because they talk about all the sad things that happened to them, when they were growing up. And I get that. I understand that you were a victim when you were a child. But once you become an adult, it's time to stop. It's time to get those wounds healed. It's time to forgive people who have hurt us, and then command the demons to go that attach to us from that, so that you can walk in victory, overcoming the fruit of the Spirit. Otherwise, if I stayed in a victim mode all the time, who would want to follow? Who would, if Jesus was in the victim mentality, he'd say, oh my gosh, poor, I did nothing. Said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. And then he was able to actually come back from the dead, of course, and then help other people get healed and set free and delivered. So we have to know, you could think about Paul. Paul went through horrendous stuff. Now, if all he did in the Bible was talk about all the bad things that happened to him, that's kind of a way you know if you're healed or not emotionally, is if you're continuing to talk about all the bad things that happened to you over and over every day, then you're probably not healed yet. You're not forgiven those people yet. You're staying stuck in the past. It's like the guy that was at the, Getarenes, who was chained and would break free from those chains. He had legion, which is 6,000 demons. So he was a mess. He was staying in the tombs of his past. And it wasn't until Jesus came on the scene that finally he was able to get set free and healed from all that. So the Lord wants us to walk in freedom, wants us to walk in peace, wants us to walk in the fruit of the Spirit. and does not want us to be focused on all the bad things that ever happened to us, because then you're in victim mentality mode and the demons have legal rights to keep tormenting you, and that's not a good thing. So hopefully that helps more. Again, I will not be doing any lives for the rest of the year, not until next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. My birthday's coming up on my sister's birthday is January 1st, to Indianapolis, going to see Bob Mann, going to see my brothers and sister, and their family's going to see my kids and my 3 grandkids. So going to take some time off and just understand that the Lord loves all of us, and we've all been wounded, we've all been hurt. We are not going to get healed as long as we continue to look at ourselves as a victim. We need to stop it. You know, if you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and you're continuing to lament every day or every week about all the bad things people have done to you, then you're hearing demonic spirits. The demons love that. Just continue to stay stuck as a victim, and then you will not be able to do much for the Lord. When you've overcome all that, then you can encourage other people, love on other people, and then see the fruit. The fruit of the Spirit is the evidence that you have been healed and delivered, and that you are walking in the fullness of who Jesus has called you to be. So, alrighty, I will let you go. Maybe I'll jump in. Temperature again right now is like 70 degrees here in Atlanta. It's a beautiful day other than a little bit of clouds. So, alright, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.